All right, welcome to the Tuesday night Torah study. Tonight we're studying and beginning the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus. Yay, we're starting a new book. All right, and so for those of you that know the routine, that's terrific. For those who don't, let me explain the routine. So what we do on Tuesday nights is we first go ahead and make sure that we've covered any prayer needs and praise reports that there might be within the body. And so we'll do that. And then we'll go ahead and read the Torah portion. And after reading the Torah portion, we'll go ahead and discuss the Torah portion. There will also be some announcements mixed in there so that we can be up to speed and up to date on the new things that are going on. Okay, so let's begin then with taking up the prayer needs and praise reports. So if you have a praise or prayer, you can type it in, or you can raise your hand, and we will go ahead and read those out loud, and then we'll go ahead and pray for all that. See you all in 3 days from Carrie. Okay. Carrie says McDonald's and Waffle House, all is open here. Some pizza places opening tonight. Okay, let's see. Oh, no wave. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's start off with the wave. We could do that. My mistake. Apologize for that. See if anybody can guess the shirt. Unspoken prayers, please. And you are wearing a red shirt. Actually, I'm wearing the division champion Dallas Cowboys shirt. How about them Cowboys? There we go. Okay. Cowboys football. And of course, we got a little coin scratch for you. So we are definitely excited about the very mediocre Cowboys somehow managing to win the totally awful NFC East division. Okay, there's your wave. Shalom, shalom. Let's stop the recording. Okay, now, all right. So back to the prayers. I think we missed a few as people started cheering on the Cowboys or deriding them. Let's see. Carrie said, Lorraine says unspoken. Stephen Gwen, safe travel to and from Tennessee. And for work matters as well. Alana, unspoken. Prayers, please. You were wearing a red shirt, okay? Carrie, I wasn't wearing red. Gary Gephardt, many unspoken prayers and praises. Steve, no t-shirt. That's way too much information that we didn't really need. Okay, Rabbi Tom, prayers, please, for oldest grandson and newborn daughter, Peyton Marie, 6th great-grandchild. Wow. Okay. Greg felt it would be blue. Adrian and Patricia, continue prayers for Adrian as I prepared for my PMP exam, planning to make it right after February 16th. My brother went to Cornell University where the food truck, the hot truck that would come by, sold a PMP, which stood for Poor Man's Pizza, which was basically Italian bread, cut with cheese and sauce. So that was a PMP, Poor Man's Pizza. Okay. I'm sure that's not what you're studying for. Let's see what else we got going on here. We got some more. How about them Cowboys and other things? Seahawks and all the other teams you mentioned. Just looking at what else we missed here. Waving back. Okay. Flint family prays for the wonderful and fruitful time here in Tennessee. Prayer for travel in the morning and to be able to get more done when we return on the 4th. Tommy and Selena, one of Selena's homeschool mom friends, passed away in a house fire Sunday night, along with 3 teens staying with her. Ooh, that is just beyond awful. We certainly pray for that family and all those affected by that. Mary Wallen, unspoken. Okay, let's see. Several unspokens. Rick Berry. Arthur, continued prayer for Linda. Digestive issues and just not feeling well at all. Alicia and Matthew Cooper, unspoken prayers, please. Ian Taylor, prayer that my mom might find a house in South Carolina quickly and that we find a home for her 2 cats here in Hawaii. Okay, we can certainly pray for that. Nolan, urgent prayer, unspoken, please. Very difficult times right now. Okay. Lily Shane. Hubby has stomach virus, and I am having an allergic reaction on my face. Sarah Beth, unspoken. Adrian, project manager professional is what a PMP stands for. Thank you. Also, although the pizza sounds good. Okay. All right, Claudia, please continue praying for my father's skin issues and unspoken for me. Janice, prayer requests my shalom and prayers for my interview on Thursday. 1 month with no income is a bit rough. Yahweh has us. I believe that. All right. Alweed and Kelly, prayers for our Saturday during our wedding planning. You guys are planning a wedding? I tried calling you earlier, but you didn't answer your phone. Okay, so we'll have to continue to figure out when we can talk more about those wedding plans. We're very excited for you. I'm just teasing you. Okay, Laura in Oregon, several unspoken and many praises. Sarah Beth, praise that my brother's here with us tonight. All right. Though he doesn't usually make it on Tuesdays because of his job, but this has worked out where he's been able to be here, which is really cool. Chelsea, unspoken. Dominique, prayer for upcoming cancer checkup. I've been cancer-free 5 years. 5 years. Cheryl, unspoken. Rabbi Tom's praying for Daweed. Maurice and Eileen and the girls, unspoken. Aletha, my apologies for being late, family issues. Jeremy and Aubrey, congrats to Daweed and Kelly. Mazel tov. Okay, April, unspoken. Some more congratulations for Daweed and Kelly. Tommy and Selena, prayers for those who are not getting paid right now due to the government shutdown. Carrie, yes, it's great that we can be here tonight. Okay. Alan Jeannie, shalom from South Carolina. Sorry we were late. Technical difficulties. Greg and Mary, prayer. My brother Brian is having back surgery on the 31st. The Mashiach in Nebraska, praise, thanking Abba for safely bringing the Owens family back home. Amen. Okay, let's see. Sue Smith, prayers for my family. Michael Norwood, unspoken. Crystal, you sound like you are feeling better, Rabbi. I am feeling somewhat better. I do still have quite a little bit of congestion in, my throat here for some reason. And you hear it in my voice, as well as the hip that's now actually feeling better, which is good. Okay, Kevin Shep, prayers for obviously for my my health problems. Okay, that's cool. Appreciate that. All right. David Aim, we praise you for this Torah study, almost 100, and prayers for upcoming leaders and your hip rabbi. Awesome, thank you. Let's see, Alice and Unspoken. Jonathan, praise Abba for favor and extension to work. Prayers for Windows. Brother Dale and wife on Marco Polo. Friend Mayim. Transition from public transportation to vehicle to work nights. Okay. Anybody else? Let's see. Okay, Pauline Semple, please pray I would find fellowship, Nottingham, UK, and other to talk to. There you go. Le Mashiach, prayers. Pam's brother-in-law Bill has been diagnosed with rare disease. Only 100 people worldwide have it, and he and his wife are both elderly and raising 2 of their grandchildren. Well, that's rough. We'll certainly pray for that. Walter and Rachel, unspoken. So happy to be celebrating tonight with family. This Crystal again is my prayer that one day the rest of my family will have their eyes open to Abba's truth and not to the world's version. Kathy and Corey, upcoming move for Kathy to Bishop, California to go smoothly. Sarah Beth, may we call you after the Torah study? Yes, you may. Okay, Aaron, praise I am able to be here for the Torah study. It's been a while. Amen. Good to see you here, Aaron, brother. Todd, upcoming choice to buy or move to Tennessee. Todd, certainly we would encourage you to give us a call to discuss those things so we can give you good counsel. And we do have somebody here that does help with the transition team, we call it, helping people with their decisions and moving. We do have a realtor here we're working with that can help with those things as well. Okay, anybody else? All right, looks like that's pretty much going to cover it. A few more people typing, just want to double check. And then we'll open up the study with some prayer, and then we'll start reading the Torah portion. All right, Dominique, praying for fellowship. I only know one Israelite around this area, Jefferson, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky area. And we do pray that Father will bring more people to your areas so that we can have fellowship and eventually maybe even a congregation planted in those areas. Rabbi, can they help in case of Section 8 with moving? You'd have to call and we can see what's going on, Carrie. We do have some people that do live in Section 8 housing, and we know where some of it is. And so we might be able to work that out. Because we do have some members of the congregation that are in Section 8 housing now. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and have one of the guys raise their hand to open us in prayer. Okay, let's go with...
Mic check. Father, we just come before you so humbly, just first to recognize who you are, what you are, and that all of these prayers have been brought to you, whether they're spoken or unspoken. And we just so humbly come to you just to enjoy the fellowship tonight on this day. And what a perfect time to start the book of Exodus. And so may you speak through the leadership tonight, and may we be receptive towards whatever we learn tonight, wherever the direction it goes. All of this we ask in the name of the Son of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. For those not familiar with the phrase Amen, Amen means and. So Amen means it is agreed. So really, it's the first one's more of a question. Amen, like do we agree? And yes, we agree. Okay. Amen. Amen. It's agreed, and it is agreed. Okay. Now, so tonight we are going into Torah portion, Parsha Shemot, which is Exodus 1:1 through 6:1. What does Shemot mean? What does Shemot mean? There it is, names. I know you guys are all ready for that question. Excellent. So we're starting our second book. in our journey through 5 books of the first 5 books of the scriptures as we enter into Shemot. Now, in Hebrew, the tradition was to name chapters and books after, and even Torah portions after, a primary concept or word in the beginning of the first sentence. So in verse 1, it says, and these are the names of the children of Israel. Names. Shemot. Okay? And the book is called the Book of Shemot because that's how it starts. Of course, the story is really about the Exodus, and so in English they've renamed it Exodus. Okay? And so that's why we have that differentiation between Shemot. Shemot does not mean Exodus. Okay, Shemot means names. All right? All right, so I have 10 readers tonight. 10. Whoops, somebody's got their mic on. Okay. All right, so we got 10 readers, so we get some hands up. So the way this works is we're going to have each person is going to be introduced. I'll call on you one at a time. And when I call on you, I'll tell you from what chapter to what chapter you're going to read, from what verses. Okay, it's usually going to be about 11 or 12 or 13 or 14 verses, depending on I try to capture a complete thought and not interrupt the flow too much so that you can kind of break it up that way. All right. And so we have 10 readers. So we're going to go ahead and read, and then after we read, we'll discuss. Also, for those of you that may be leaving early, just some quick updates. Hopefully sometime this week, if not next week, I will be posting the Passover page on the website. We will be in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Passover will be on Friday, April 19th. And then Unleavened Bread goes from the 20th to the 26th, which is a Friday, and we'll be staying 2 extra days till Sunday. So it's really going to run from the 19th to the 28th of April. Okay? And, of course, we have these Torah studies every week. So that pretty much covers it for that. Was there something else I wanted to mention? No, I think that'll cover it right now. If I think of something else, I'll mention it during the break between the readings and the discussion. Okay, so the way this works, I'll call you up, I'll say a brief blessing over you, I'll tell you what verses you're reading, and then you will go to read. If you have a challenge with your microphone, we'll give you a few shots at fixing it. If it doesn't really fix it, we'll have to pass on you and move on to somebody else. So please don't take that personally. All right, so we're going to begin. Is that Barbara going first? I think it usually is Barbara.
Yes.
Just want to check on that. Okay. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Barbara, come up out of Yahweh and the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, Barbara, take us from.
And these are the names of the children of Israel. Can you hear me good? Okay. Who came to Mizraim with Yaakov, each one with his household. Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yissachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all those who were descendants of Yaakov were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mizraim. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel bore fruit and increased very much, multiplied and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. Then a new sovereign arose over Mizraim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, see, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase. And it shall be, when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land. So they set slave masters over them, to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Barbara. Okay, next up, we've got Adrian. He who blessed our... You're going to have to turn your mic off, Barbara, and lower your hand. So,
Yeah.
there we go. No, it's still on.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Okay, and then lower your hand. Okay, to all your readers, when you're done, please remember to lower your hand. And that does help me know who's next. Okay. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Adrian, who's come out down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Adrian, take us from verse 12 to the end of the chapter.
Mic check. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. They were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Mitzrayites made the children of Israel serve them with harshness. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick and in all kinds of work in the field. And all their work which they made them to do was with harshness. Then the sovereign of Mitzrayim spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shephrah, the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall put them to death. If it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mitzrayim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be because the midwives feared Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son who was born into the river, and keep alive every daughter.
Amen. Amen. All right, thank you, Adrian. Next up is Steve. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Steve, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Steve, take us into chapter 2 and read verses 1 through 12.
All right. And a man of the house of Levi went and married the daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could not hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it, and saw the child, and see the baby wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, this one of the children of the Hebrews. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And among the women went and called the children's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me. Then I shall pay your wages. So that the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water. And in those days it came to be, when Moses was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens. And he saw a Mitzrayim strike a Hebrew, one of his brothers. So he turned this away and that way, and when he saw no one, he struck the Mitzrayim, and hid him in the sand.
Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you, Steve. All right, next up we have Bob. Excuse me. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Bob, who's come up out of Yahweh in the Torah. It is set apart one, bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Bob, take us now from verse 13 to the end of chapter 2.
Test. When he went out the second day, he saw two Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why do you strike your neighbor?" And he said, "Who made you a head and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrayim?" Then Moshe feared and said, "Truly, the matter is known." Then Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And they came and drew water, and they filled their troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up, came to their rescue, and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, "How is it that you have come so soon today?" And they said, "Mitzrayim rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "Man, where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread." And Moshe agreed to dwell with his man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, "I have become a sojourner in a foreign land." And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery, and they cried out, and their cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzhak, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew.
Amen. Amen. All right, thank you, Bob. Okay, next up we have AJ. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless AJ, who's come out of Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, AJ is going to take us now into chapter 3 and read verses 1 through 10.
Okay. And Moshe was shepherding the flock of Yithro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked, and he saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, "Let me turn aside now and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn." And Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, and Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, "Moshe, Moshe." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is set apart ground." And he said, "I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov." And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And Yahweh said, "I have indeed seen the oppression of my people, who are in Mitzrayim, who have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mitzrites, to bring them up from the land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now, see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mitzrites oppress them. And now, come, I am sending you to Pharaoh, to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mitzrayim."
Amen. Amen. Thank you. All right. So now we are up to, thank you, AJ. We're up to Nolan. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Nolan, who's come out of Yahweh in the Torah. But his set apart one, bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, continuing here in chapter 3, go from verse 11 to the end of the chapter.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right. Let's see. And Moshe said to Elohim, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Mitzrayim?" And he said, "Because I am with you, and this is to you the sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Mitzrayim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain." And Moshe said to Elohim, "See, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, the Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them?" And Elohim said to Moshe, "I am that which I am." And he said, "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you." And Elohim said further to Moshe, "Thus you are to say to the children of Israel, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and the Elohim of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. Go, and you shall gather the elders of Israel together, and say to them, Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, of Yitzhak, and of Jacob, appeared to me, saying, I have indeed visited you, and seen what is done to you in Mitzrayim. And I say, I am bringing you up out of the affliction of Mitzrayim, to the land of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, and the elders of Israel, to the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and you shall say to him, Yahweh Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. And now, please, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to slaughter to Yahweh our Elohim. But I know the sovereign of Mitzrayim is not going to let you go, not even by a strong hand. And I shall stretch out my hand and strike Mitzrayim with all my wonders, which I shall do in the midst, and in its midst, and after that he shall let you go. And I shall give this people forever in the eyes of the Mitzrites, and it shall be that when you go, you shall not go out empty-handed, but every woman shall ask from her neighbor and from the stranger in her house objects of silver and objects of gold and garments, and you shall put them on your sons and your daughters, and shall plunder the Mitzrites.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Nolan. Appreciate it. Okay, next up we've got Michael. You blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. May you bless Michael, who's come from time of Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, next, Michael's going to take us now into chapter 4 and read verses 1 through 17. This is the longest reading of the day, 1 through 17.
All right, mic check. And Moshe answered and said, And if they do not believe me, nor listen to my voice, and say, Yahweh has not appeared to you, and Yahweh said to him, What is that in your hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moshe fled from it. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Reach out your hand and seize it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and took hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand. So that they believed that Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, and Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, and Elohim of Jacob has appeared to you. And Yahweh has said to him again, Now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom, And when he took it out, and see, his hand was leprous, like snow. And he said, put your hand back in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out of his bosom. And see, it was restored like his other flesh. And it shall be, if they do not believe you, nor listen to your voice, to the voice of the first sign, they shall believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river, and pour it on dry land, and the water which you take from the river shall become blood on dry land. And Moshe said to Yahweh, O Yahweh, I am not a man of words, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And Yahweh said to him, who has made man's mouth? Or who makes dumb, or deaf, or see, or blind? Is it not I, Yahweh? And now go, and I shall be with you with your mouth, and teach you what to say. And he said, Yahweh, please send by the hand of him whom you would send. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Moshe. And he said, is not Aaron a Levite, your brother? I know that he speaks well. And see, he is also coming out to meet you. And when he sees you, he shall be glad in his heart. And you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And I am with your mouth, and with your mouth, and his mouth. And I shall teach you what to do. And he shall speak for you to the people, and it shall be that he shall be a mouth for you, and you shall be an Elohim for him. And take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. That's 17.
Amen. Amen. Sorry, my computer sometimes has a little lag time when I click on the mic. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Okay. Next up is Jonathan. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jonathan, who's come upon Yahweh and the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Jonathan, take us from verse 18 to the end of chapter 4.
Mic check. 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 Then Moshe went and returned to Jether, his father-in-law, and said to him, let me go and return to my brothers who are in Mitzrayim.
Okay, Michael, Jonathan, I muted you. You have a terrible echo going on here, and you're going to have to turn down something because it's got a bad echo.
See whether... Mic check.
Oh, that's much better. All right, start again.
Then Moshe went and returned to Jether, his father-in-law, and said to him, please let me go and return to my brothers who are in Mitzrayim to see whether they are still alive. And Yithro said to Moshe, go in peace. And Yahweh said to Moshe in Midian, go, return to Mitzrayim, for all the men are dead who sought your life. So Moshe took his wife and his sons and set them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. And Yahweh said to Moshe, as you go back to Mitzrayim, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I am going to strengthen his heart, so that he does not let the people go. And you shall say to Pharaoh, Thus said Yahweh, Israel is my son, my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, see, I am killing you, your son, your firstborn. And it came to be on the way, in the lodging place, that Yahweh met him and sought to kill him. And Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and threw it at his feet and said, You are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him go. Then she said, You are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And Yahweh said to Aharon, Go to meet Moshe in the wilderness. And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim and kissed him. Moshe then told Aaron all the words of Yahweh, who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moshe went with Aaron and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spoke all the words which Yahweh had spoken to Moshe. Then he did the signs before the eyes of the people. And the people believed, and they heard that Yahweh had visited the children of Israel, and that he had looked on their affliction, and they bowed their heads and did obeisance.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, so next up, we've got Tommy. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Tommy, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Tommy, take us now to chapter 5 and read verses 1 through 12.
Mic check. And afterwards Moshe and Aharon went in and said to Pharaoh, Thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Let my people go, so that they keep a festival to me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, Who is Yahweh, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Yahweh, nor am I going to let Israel go. And they said, The Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, and slaughter to Yahweh our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. But the sovereign of Mitzrayim said to them, Moshe and Aharon, why do you take the people from their work? Get back to your burdens. And Pharaoh said, See, the people of the land are many now, and you make them cease from their burdens. And the same day Pharaoh commanded the slave drivers of the people and their foremen, saying, You are no longer to give the people straw to make bricks as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and lay on them the required amount of bricks for which they made before. Do not diminish it, for they are idle. That is why they cry out, saying, Let us go and slaughter to our Elohim. Let more work be laid on the men, so that they labor in it, and not pay attention to words of falsehood. And the slave drivers of the people and their foremen went out and spoke to the people, saying, Thus said Pharaoh, I do not give you straw. Go, take straw for yourselves, wherever you find it, for your work shall not be diminished. And the people were scattered in all the land of Mitzrayim, to gather stubble for straw.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Tommy. Okay, next up, and this is the last reader, will be Gary. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Gary, who's come to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, so Gary's going to take us now from chapter 5 and verse 13 to chapter 6 and verse 1.
And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, "Fulfill your actions, your daily matters, as when there was straw." Also, the former of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over them, were struck and were asked.
Gary, hold on. Gary, hold on. You're coming through really hot and distorted. So I don't know if you can maybe back away from the mic a little bit and try again.
Is this any better?
Keep trying. Let me hear.
Okay. And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, "Fulfill your actions, your daily matters, as when there was straw."
Gary, same problem. Same problem. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's something to do with the way you've got it set or the mic. It's overdriving. It's basically clipping at the top. All right, let me go ahead and go to Arthur for right now. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Arthur, who's coming out of Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Arthur, chapter 5:13 to chapter. Arthur, we don't hear anything. We went from overdrive on Gary to nothing from you. Yeah, now we need to find someone that we can go in the middle. Arthur, you want to give it another try or? Nope. Okay, he's having technical difficulty on there. Go ahead, Arthur, try it.
Okay.
There we go. You're working. Yep, okay. Go for it.
And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, "Fulfill your actions, your daily matters, as when there was straw." Also the foremen of the children of Israel and Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over them were struck and were asked, "Why have you not fulfilled your law in making bricks, both yesterday and today as before?" And the foreman of the children of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, saying, "Why do you treat your servants this way? There is no straw given to your servants, and they say to us, 'Make bricks.' And see, your servants are struck, but your own people are at fault." But he said, "You are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, 'Let us go up and slaughter to Yahweh.' So now, go work, and straw is not given to you, but deliver the amount of bricks." And the foreman of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble after it was said, "You are not to diminish your daily amount of bricks." When they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moshe and Aaron, who stood there to meet him. And they said to them, "Let Yahweh look on you and judge, because you have made us loathsome in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants, to give a sword in their hand to kill us." And Moshe returned to Yahweh and said, "Yahweh, why have you done evil to this people? Why did you send me? For since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to this people. You have not delivered your people at all." And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, "Now see what I do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he is going to let him go, and with a strong hand he is going to drive him out of his hand."
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Arthur. Okay, I know it was a little tough getting that last portion done, that last reading, but I do appreciate that there was a little bit of, at least you guys tried. It was hard. I know there was some challenges with the sound. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the traditional closing prayer. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Amen. All right, awesome job, everyone. Thank you to all the readers. Really appreciate that. What we're going to do now is, again, just remind everyone some quick announcements. We do want to continue to pray for all the prayer needs and prayer requests and things that have come up that we've been dealing with as far as prayer. Okay, so want to make sure we get that going on. Also, reminder that we do this every week for anybody that's new. We have over 100 of you in the room. We do this every Tuesday night, and so we do appreciate that. Also, Passover will be hopefully posted on the website here in the next week or two as we get that all worked out. The property, of course, that we're dealing with is closed during the Christmas thing, and so I can't get in touch with them to finish signing the contract and everything, but I'm sure we'll get that all worked out here towards the end of the week and then be able to get everything up on the website. All right, so I think that's going to cover it for that. Also, we do have another property that we're looking at that could work as a feast site. It's 225 acres. It's in Calhoun, Tennessee, about 35, 40 minutes from the congregation building that we have now. Also, make note that we will be changing soon our phone number to the new phone numbers in the new building. We will be getting that to you. Also, all tithes and offerings that are going in the mail should be going now to the new address, which is 3722 Dalton Pike. I'm typing it in here for you, Southeast, and that's in Cleveland. Oops. Helps if I can spell. Tennessee 37323. Okay, that's the new address. Okay, I don't have the new phone number on me, but we do have a new phone number, and so we'll have all of those things getting them to you soon. Okay, so if you're mailing checks or cash or anything that you're mailing, please start mailing it to that address. Okay. Also, if you please would pray about it. Julie and I, the Riverton and I, have just put in an offer that was accepted on a house so that we could move to the Cleveland area, and we're hoping that that will go into, go well as far as getting the appraisal and all the other things that have to go on. And if all goes well, we will be moving at the end of January. Okay? And so we're excited to finally go into a house of our own, and that will be great. We have not owned a house since 2002 or 2003, so we haven't owned a house in a long time. So it'd be nice to own a house and have something we can say is planting roots in the area. So, we're really glad to have that. Okay. Okay. Now, so we're going to go into the discussion portion here of the Torah portion. As always, we have a couple of ground rules. Rule number one, we would like to make sure that we are going somewhat chronologically. It makes it easier to catch the flow. So not hardcore in terms of making sure we don't ever jump ahead, but let's try dealing with chapter 1 before we deal with chapter 4 or 5 or 6. And also, what we're looking for primarily is not the interesting or the stuff you've always wanted to understand, but we are looking for what did you get out of this that you can apply and relate to your life. Okay? That's what we're looking for here. I know a lot of other ministries like to do, well, where do you see Messiah in this? And of course, you can see Messiah in this, but that's not where we're at with this for ourselves. We are this season of going through the Torah portions. I want you to say, when Paul said the word, the scripture is written there for your examples, for encouraging to us to learn from what other people did or did not do correctly. And so when we read this portion, I want to get your kind of feedback as to where you see something beneficial to your walk in what we just read. Because it's really about that, about your walk and how this would then apply to your walk and how you see yourself in that. Okay? All right. So, if you have a question or comment, you can raise your hand. I see Steve's got one up here. Don't go yet, Steve. I see your hands up. Let me just read some of the things on the screen real quick. Let's see. Okay, Gary's looking for more people to maybe be able to fellowship with him in Sarasota. Okay. All right, David and Amy point out that the midwives fear God, not man. That's a good point. All right. Otherwise, there would be no or very few men in this Exodus. That's true. Okay, Adrian Patricia, these verses stand out as a warning to me. Even in Yah's blessings, we must stay on the path, as the good times could be the calm before the storm. Sometimes our blessings may make others jealous or angry toward us. That's true. All right.
Let's see. For me, what I found is I can't really see. I can only assume why. Or excuse me. Let me get my thought here. I can only assume that Israel increased no matter the pressure or affliction because of the resolve. So to me, I can take that and say, maybe I can look at myself and see how it is I react when pressures and afflictions come into my life, and do I continue to look to increase in my walk or in other ways, or do I fall under and go the wrong way? So that's what I saw.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for your feedback and comments there. That's a really good point in all of this, is, they did come down to Egypt, and then pretty quickly we see there's a new sovereign in town, and he did not know Joseph. Now, let's remember that word knowing is very important in the Torah portion as well as everywhere else in Scripture. It's not that he didn't know who Joseph was necessarily. He had no relationship with Joseph or Joseph's children or people, etc. Remember, the deal that Joseph had was with a previous Pharaoh, previous sovereign of the land, and this one didn't have that kind of relationship with Joseph. And so what started off as looking like, hey, everything's great here. Now, remember, they're not in the land. They're in Egypt. We're supposed to come out of Egypt. We're not in the land. And we could see, oh, things are great. Look at how great everything's going here. We live in a fairly prosperous country. Most of you live in a fairly prosperous country, and everything seems pretty good, but we're not in the land. We're not where we're supposed to be. Now, that's not to say we need to go move there now. No, I'm not saying that at all. Okay, as a matter of fact, I might discourage you from doing that now. But knowing that ultimately that's where we're going to end up when Yeshua brings us back to the land. Okay? That's the gathering of the end times when we get gathered back to the land, and there will be one king over us all. That's a millennial setting. Okay? Now,
everybody hear me? Yeah, the one thing I got out of this rabbi, and it was, I'm sorry, it was very emotional for me, is that when Moshe was face to face with Yahweh, he was still wanted proof. He was still being stubborn. And I find myself doing the same thing. I can put myself in his place. That I question sometimes rather than accepting. And I think that's at that point in time, until Yahweh gave him the plan of what he was going to do in Mitzrayim, that Moshe was questioning rather than just accepting the word. And perhaps I'm getting it wrong, but that's just what I got out of that.
okay. I mean, look, the reaction that Kevin has, that's kind of what I'm looking for, is that it should move you. You should see yourself. There should be a convicting sort of thing. And also an encouraging thing. Sometimes you'll see somebody doing something right, and you can say, wow, I do similar things, and that should encourage you. I think we see all the way through this Torah portion and through the story of Exodus, of them coming out of Egypt, a real microcosm of the continual battle from the beginning of time between belief, faith, and trust versus fear and doubt. Also, those that would have a relationship with the information they're given versus just having knowledge or information only. An informational understanding versus a relational understanding. And we can see that that's a big part of the problem here as well. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. Let me scroll up and see what else I missed from people putting some notes in here. Chapter 1, 9 to 10 from Adrian and Patricia. These verses stand out as a warning to me. Even in Yah's blessing, we're going to stay on the path as the good times could be to come. Okay, I read that already. Good. Dave and Alice, midwives, civil disobedience to keep Torah. Okay. Listen, if your boss says you got to work on Saturday, you say, I can't do it. You just can't do it. Okay, let's see. Crystal, if I keep my eyes on Yah and not man and any fear that comes my way, yes. Okay, that's right. We want to keep our eyes on Yah and not man. And fear Yah, you'll never be afraid again. Okay, the new sovereign over Mitzrayim was quite the conclusion jumper, warning to me. Great. Yeah, let's not act like those kings that jump to conclusions and other things. Good. Carrie, just to comment, things had to be really bad for the children of Israel to cry out, which makes you think things are going to get so much harder for us before we cry out to Yahweh and He leads us out. Amen. Okay. No matter what you face, Yah can deliver you from whatever you are facing. That comes from Dominique. Good comment. Let's see. Rabbi Tom, like the Israelites in Egypt, do we realize the reality of our slavery, and are we completely complacent? Or are we completely complacent? You know, I want to jump forward. I said we weren't going to, but let me jump forward because it matches up with what Rabbi Tom was saying. Chapter 5 and verse 8. Okay, what does it say there? It says, and lay on them the required amount of bricks which they made before. Do not to mention it, for they are idle. That is why they cry out, saying, let us go and slaughter our Elohim. Could it be that they had a problem being idle? That they weren't doing what they needed to be doing? So Yahweh gave them something to occupy their attention? Okay, because they were doing things they shouldn't be doing. They were not focused on what they should be doing. Let's be careful that we don't fall in that terribly dangerous place called idleness or complacency. You know, we're told that we want to be found so doing. We want to be that well, good, and trustworthy servant who is found so doing, not so sitting around idle. All right? Good point. How hard does it have to get before we cry out? Oh, we should be crying out now. Okay? Okay, pain is getting better. Good night, Aaron. Okay, well, I might have missed you already by the time you left, but good night. All right. How hard does it get before we obey? Okay, that's from David and Amy. Scrolling down. Carrie said, I think we're all guilty of this. Sadly, that's a response, I think, to Kevin's comments. Okay. Now, again, why did Moses, okay, let's ask the question, why did Moses question Yahweh, if he did at all, which I believe he did at various times? Why did he question? Why was he questioning Yah? Because I think the answer is a fairly simple and straightforward one. Fear? I'm not sure that it was fear. I don't think it was he did not understand his will. For direction? No. The Flint family has the right answer, but didn't explain it right. He didn't have a relationship with Yahweh. He had information about Yahweh. He may not have known Yahweh, is what Gary said. All right? He had to have a relationship. See, all of you have a Bible. You know what's in that Bible? Okay? Information. That is what's in your Bible. People say, oh, the Bible has life. Well, no, it's just a bunch of words on a piece of paper. Okay, there's no life necessarily just in a bunch of words on a piece of paper. Now, if you take those bunch of words on a piece of paper and do something with it, they could bring life. But the question is, what are you going to do with the words on the piece of paper? Okay? You have to have a relationship with what the book is talking about. And Moses, it took time, and so the Israelites also took time. You see their journey through the wilderness. It was all about developing a relationship with the information. They were challenged. They were having a lot of challenge processing. They were having a challenge processing the information. All right? Let me scroll back up here, see what else I've missed. Okay, Jonathan, verse 12, the more they afflicted them, the more they increased. While they intended for evil to create a cause or allowed them to increase. Yeah, good point. Mark Oswald, verse 8 through 14, Pharaoh's actions toward Israel were not without purpose. The things happened to them and to us are not random, but do happen for a reason. That's true. Let's remember that. Okay? Let's remember that. Let me back up here. Okay? Ian Taylor, if Moshe would have relayed his testimony about the burning bush and snake staff to a modern-day psychologist, they would have labeled him schizophrenic and prescribed him some form of pharmakia or another. That is so true. So, for all of you that have friends and family that think you're crazy, you're in good company. Okay, I'm way behind on where you guys are in the scrolling, so hopefully I get caught up here. Let's see. Greg and Mary, so much change can occur in a relationship over a generation or a period of non-communication. True. Was bondage here a covenant curse? Well, it certainly was a curse to get their attention, to wake them up. They didn't have the covenant with Yahweh where there was an expectation of their behavior. So I wouldn't say that, but it was, as is talked about when Yahweh says, if you don't listen and see and obey me, you're going to be cursed because it's to educate us. If you're not instructed by the curses. Okay? But it was supposed to be something we could look back at and see how that played out. If I fear Elohim like the midwives, maybe he'd provide a household for me. That's Jonathan. Okay. Letha, as Pharaoh increased his affliction upon them and made their work harder, we have to realize that even though we obey Torah and things in life may seem to get harder, we must still push on and not give up or become discouraged. Amen to that. The woman who bore Moshe gave him up to something she did not know the outcome of her great love for him. What is it we can or should give up for our love for the Father of the Father, chapter 2. Okay, so Steve brings up a good point. I want to use this to launch into something. So a lot of you have children, and those children are not, we're not raised with all of this. So those children, are dealing with things a little differently than you would like them to. You may need to give them over to Yah. When Moses was put into the water and released, there was no real telling what was going to happen. She had no idea. She was just giving him up to Yah. Okay, his mother was just giving him up to Yah. So let's remember that with our own lives. What's happening with our children, and are we able to trust them in the Father's hands? Because some of you have got very challenging teenagers and older children, and you want somehow to force them to change. Sometimes you're going to have to release them and let them go. And let Father work with them. Keep praying for them, but you might have to release them to some degree. So bear that in mind, okay? Very, very important. Very, very hard to do. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. All right, let's see where we're up to here. How many times have I said, why did you send me, chapter 3, verse 20? Because I don't understand what's going on, or it seems like I'm never going to get it right. But ultimately, we just can't see what Yah has in store ahead. Thank you, Nolan. Good point. Let me skip back down a little more here. Okay, interesting that the Israelites never asked to be delivered from Egypt, Rabbi Tom is saying, only to have their burdens eased. Although they ultimately followed through, they missed Yahweh's plan completely. That's true, and we often do, as Israelites, miss his plan completely. Very good point. All right. Crystal Trueheart says, learn how to apply and live them. Yes, that's good. He also didn't have a relationship with the people he was being sent to, the elders of Israel. That's true. That was Moses' challenge. All right. Greg and Mary, relationships, an opportunity to do something to the utmost. That is what relationships is all about. Okay, Rick says, like we must start walking out Torah to really grasp and appreciate its importance. That's so true, because you have to have a relationship with what you're doing. Adrian, relationship is the whole point. Crystal, true cause and effect. Let's see. Tiffany, I have it interesting at 5:12, the people being scattered in the land of Og Mitzrayim to gather stubble for straw, used to build up Mitzrayim rather than Elohim. We are scattered now. Okay, Janice, was Yahweh there? Did Zipporah realize that they had neglected this command? Chapter 4, what does this mean? I've noticed it before. Okay, Janice, the whole thing where she takes the stone and cuts off the foreskin of his son and throws it at Moses' feet, etc., I will say somewhat confidently that nobody really understands why that's there. Not enough information is given. There are Jewish commentaries, there are Christian commentaries, there are Messianic commentaries, and everybody's guessing. Because that little piece there sort of stands by itself without a whole lot of context. And so I am also, questioned every time I go through there, what in the world is going on here? Okay? And so I will tell you I really don't know, and I could guess, but guessing would not really be of value. Okay? So, but I will tell you, in my opinion, everybody is guessing. All right. But what I will tell you is that's one of those things that, again, while interesting and confusing, doesn't affect your walk. You need to be circumcised. Okay, men, you need to be circumcised. And so this really doesn't have anything to do with our walk at the moment. It was just part of the story, and we're really not sure how it fits into the story. Okay? All right, where was I up to? We're scrolling down. Okay, Adrian, there's also a theme throughout this story that Yah only gives us information we need at the time. We are privy to his plans. That's true. That's true. Patience and trust. All right. All right, good. Okay, Laura says, Moses was not a man of words. Good thing he was a man of action. Actually, for a man who was slow of speech, as Tevi was saying, he sure talked a lot. Yeah, mostly Moses was saying these things as excuses to try to say, I don't want to do this. Well, I don't talk very well, and I have problems with this or that. Pick somebody else. He just didn't want to do it. Okay, so he was coming from that place of, but I don't want to do this. Okay? And so we are, we're dealing with that. All right? Chapter 2:12, even when I think no one is watching what I'm doing in crazy. Excellent. Thank you. Somebody bringing that up. Moses didn't think anybody saw him kill. Okay? But Yah sees. People saw. All right? He looked this way and that, and there was nobody there. Look, you may look this way and that and think nobody's there, but Yahweh always sees. Yeshua always sees. Don't ever forget that. Big Brother is watching you. Literally. Flint family, 3:12 is interesting that while the other signs were for the people in Mitzrayim, the sign that he would bring Moses back to the mountain was to be a sign for Moshe. Okay, so in 3:12, it said, because I am with you, and this is to you a sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Mitzrayim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain. Okay. Okay, Greg is wondering if the killing of the Egyptian was premeditated, because he did look that way, this way, that way, and saw no one, so he smote him. So I would say, yeah, he did. He intended to kill him. Moses' big problem was temper. Rick Barry says, interesting, I never thought of Moses as being a Levite, yet he most certainly was. Yes, he was Levite. Absolutely Levite. Let's see. You don't need to hack your network because he is the network. That's right. He doesn't need to do all of that to see what you're doing like Big Brother, like the government might do, but he sees everything. All right? Okay, David, you got to keep an eye on people coming in the room. Okay, Mark, chapter 4, 10 through 16. Would it be fair to say that Yahweh doesn't accept excuses, he sees through them encounters? 4, 10 through 16. Let's see, 4, 10, and 16 are both in my list of verses to talk about. Right, when Moses said, I'm not a man of words, neither nor before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech, slow of tongue. And he's going through all these excuses, but yes, but Yahweh sees. And by the way, we can all have that. All right? Can we all agree that Moses did not think he was worthy, capable, and was the right guy for the job? Can we agree about that? Okay. Now, you don't have to type in a 1 for this, but don't we often feel that we're not qualified, we're not the right one for the job, why did he pick us, I can't do this, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But that certainly happens more often than we would maybe like to admit. Okay? So let's keep that in mind. Okay? All right, was Pharaoh seeking to kill Moses because he had to kill the Egyptian, or because Pharaoh now knew he sided with the Israelites and was now considered guilty of treason? It doesn't say. He wanted Moses killed at the end because every time he saw Moses, plagues came, and he was tired of the plagues, and somehow thought Moses was doing it. Okay, Crystal McGee says, it is nice to see that what we believe is our weakness might actually be a strength. Awesome. Ian, chapter 6, just when everything looks like it's falling apart and nothing is going our way, Yahweh tells us to shut our mouth and just watch, like Yeshua on the boat during the storm with the disciples, a little faith. Absolutely. Hold on. Got to go back to where he said this. Okay, at the end of chapter 2, it says Elohim heard their groaning, Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, Yitzchak and Yaakov. Remember, that was a unilateral covenant just for Yahweh, things he promised to do. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. He knew he had a relationship. He knew what was going on. He understood there was a relationship between him and his people. And that's a very good verse to remember. That's chapter 2, verse 24 and 25. Good points. Verse 3 of chapter 3, verse 16. Go gather the Israelite elders. There is structure, order, leadership here. Yes. Okay, so you see him going to go get the leadership together to show them what's going on. Okay, 3:16. Go and you shall gather. And you see him do this actually in chapter 4 and verse 29. And he gathers the elders and does the signs, etc. Which, by the way, isn't it interesting that that is so important, and you never, ever see that played out in any Exodus movie. In any Moses story, they never show you the signs and wonders between him and the leadership. I don't know why. We can guess and speculate, I suppose, but they never, ever show us. I think that is telling. All right, let's see. David and Amy, God doesn't ask us of 2 talents to produce that of the 5 talents. He knows that we are qualified for. He is the one who equips us. Okay. The flints, the weaknesses we have is where the Almighty can work. Our strengths are where we don't allow the Almighty to work, and is usually where we sin. This is something that I have found to be true in my life. Aaron, we just saw it in a children's movie on YouTube the other day. First time. Okay, you'll have to tell me which movie you saw it in, because I've never seen it before. Okay. Because I've not seen it either, in all the different versions of the story I've seen. Okay. Crystal, true art, submission is not a sign of weakness, but obedience if placed in the right hands. True. True, true, true. All right. Any other comments anywhere? Since we've already jumped all over the place, any other comments on these 5 chapters with a little bit into chapter 6? In chapter 6, we're going to see the beginnings of the redemption. Growing pain feels so good. That's a good one, Crystal. Okay, a bunch of people are typing. I'll wait a minute for that. Okay, interesting. Moshe turned away from the bush for fear of seeing. Yeah? Okay. I mean, what would you do? I mean, what would you do if you came upon a bush and it was burning, but it wasn't burning, and then you heard Yah's voice? AJ wants to know, can this be related to, like, the prodigal son story? Moses not wanting to go, but ends up going and doing what Yah commanded to do. I don't know. No, I wouldn't connect it to that necessarily. I might connect it to something Yeshua said, which he said, you have 2 sons, one that the father says, go do this, and the son says no, and then does it anyway, and the other says yes and doesn't do it. So there's something to be said about there. Okay. A lot of you are responding to, what would you do if you saw the burning bush? Fall on my face, run, drop dead, run, faint. Crystal, my heart is so heavy with joy due to the trials endured, yet knowing and walking in the direction leadership offers. Amen. Isn't that the prodigal of the son? Well, I mean, no, the son chose to go off and squander. Moses doesn't choose to do that. And then he goes back seeking to just eat of what the pigs were given, and then he's embraced. That's not the sort of the same story. The son doesn't come back wanting to obey his father. He comes back just begging to eat with the pigs. It's kind of a whole different thing going on there. The prodigal son story is all about the return of Israel from dispersion. Okay. Rabbi, what was the poor's understanding? If you're talking about, again, what was happening in chapter 4, I think I've already addressed that we really don't know. We were guessing. Okay. He wasn't as afraid to hear, but very afraid to see Yah's voice at the time of the covenant. Okay. Repent. That's what you do if you saw the bush burning. Children told Moshe to go listen. That's true. Falling down flat as usual human response in scripture encountering Elohim. Again, if Moshe did not have a relationship with Yah, did he know it was his voice? Or having just come out of Egypt, could he thought it to be a different God? Well, remember, relationships also can have lots of different amounts of depth. Can we agree with that? There can be a difference in depth of relationship. And so he may have had the beginnings. Look, Israel, through what happened in Egypt, had the beginnings of a relationship with Yah, but it didn't have the depth that it would later have. Okay? So let's look at it from that point of view and dealing with it from, having a relationship or no relationship, but looking at it from the depth of the relationship. Okay, so maybe that would help a little bit. I don't know that he had a whole lot of relationship with Yah before the bush incident, although he was raised by his mother to some degree before he was given back to the prince, to be raised in the palace. Okay, AJ says what I was referring to about Yeshua is what he was. Okay, good, no problem. Okay. Chapter 3, verse 6, is Moshe scared or showing respect and hiding his face? 3, verse 6. I'm Elohim, Father. Okay, Moshe hid his face before he was afraid to look at Elohim. Look, if you're in an encounter like this and you're hearing a voice and claiming these things, I think he was petrified to some degree. There may have been some reverence there. I think he was, as you and I would be. That's a freaky situation to have a bush burning and hear a voice talking to you and talking about things that, you've only heard legendarily, so to speak, like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How much were people really worried about or thinking about the God of Abraham while they were suffering in Egypt? They at that point had pretty much concluded that the quote-unquote God of Abraham had abandoned them. They were at this point thinking that they were on their own, that he wasn't hearing their voice, and that they were left to themselves. Okay? Okay, let's see. The parable of two sons, not the prodigal son. There you go. Nolan, he said, "Here I am," kind of sounds like you knew. Well, it also could just be respectful to a voice calling on you, So, we don't know how much he knew. I'm sure his mother told him some, but we don't know how much he knew. But the thing is, can you imagine, okay, let's just take you and me personally. We've read the Bible. We know the stories. But what if you all of a sudden were confronted by the voice and a miracle like a burning bush, and the voice says, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." That might freak you out, even though you know all this stuff. Okay? Okay, Christian, enjoy your dinner. Okay, so just keep that all in mind. All right? Shira, wow, it wasn't just a burning bush. I just saw this, but Moshe actually saw this divine being appearing to him in the bush. To me, the burning bush alone would have been a curiosity, but to see Elohim in some form within the fire, isn't that what I fear as well? To have a revelation that will upset my whole life? That's true. In 5:21, let's see, they said to him, "Let Yahweh look on you and judge, because you have made us loathsome in the eyes of Pharaoh, the eyes of his servants, to give a sword in their hand to kill us." We can blame leadership for making our lives hard instead of realizing Yah is working in our lives. That's true, too. I get blamed for all kinds of things that happen in people's lives when they follow direction and it doesn't go the way they wanted it to go. All right. Okay. Adrian says, plus Hebrews knew who Elohim was while in Mitzrayim to some degree. It also appeared that they were practicing Sukkot to some degree, as Moshe requested that they come out and observe a feast. Well, it was to go out 3 days and celebrate a feast. Feast to gods was very common in all cultures, so it's not clear if that was one of the Torah feasts, and it certainly doesn't make us understand that they were keeping anything while in Egypt. So I think that'd be a stretch, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Let's see. Greg and Mary, a circumcision may be fine until a flare-up transforms it into a serpent. But take a hold of it, of that circumstance. Yes, true. Okay. All right. Laura, with the burning bush, I saw that Moses knows that the burning bush was not being consumed before calling out to him. So he saw that there was a miracle happening there. Alana says 20 years of knowing of Jethro's God and probably never seen any miracle. And then in the bush. Yeah, he was freaked out. Chapter 2, 16 and 17, Arthur says, interesting point. Meeting happens at watering well trough as an Abraham servant going for a wife for Yitzchak. And later on, Yaakov meets Rachel at the well. Even today, we have the phrase of people talking around the water cooler. Seems like we always like to gather and have significant conversation things around the water. Okay. Okay, Crystal Truout says, thinking and knowing can be different when it actually happens. That's true. AJ says, at least we have a book. That does help. Okay, let's see. Was there some sort of book or reference from Moses, Israel at that time? Not that I'm aware of. Jonathan Thompson, everything was passed down orally for the most part at those days. Chapter 3, verse 5, is there something to take away from Moses removing his sandals, that whenever we come before Yahweh, something should be removed? No, it's not about that. It was customary, though, to remove shoes to go before a king or to go before those authorities that way. Well, let's see. David Amy, read AJ's comment. Would there have been Melchizedekian activity then? I don't know. What was AJ's comment? Was there some sort of book? Oh, yeah, Melchizedekian. In other words, instruction coming from the Melchizedekian. Yes. There always were those that were of Melchizedek that were doing instruction somewhere. Michael, yeah, I think that the difference is where we have the scriptures to strengthen our belief and understanding. Hence, now I would fall on my face. But without what in the heck would cross my mind, I'd run. Or gathering around the kitchen sink. I see that. Okay. Okay, yes, Moses was told to take off his shoes. Okay. Steve brings that up. All right. So Moshe wasn't before the Shekhinah. Well, he was before Yahweh. Well, it says the messenger of Yahweh appeared to him in a flame. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, etc. And he says, I am that I am. Okay. In verse 14 of chapter 3. So, we really run into trouble when we try to identify these things more clearly. Remember, we're like an amoeba trying to understand a human being. How he does what he does is beyond really clear understanding on our part. Ian, they must have had a way better memory for more discipline if everything was passed down orally. If you've ever played the telephone game in high school and you know how quickly the story changes, I think these smartphones are making us dumber. Ian, if you go back to a man named Shaul, who said he was a student of Gamaliel, as a student of Gamaliel, he would have had to have memorized the entirety of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Torah. He would have to have memorized them. Okay, the first 5 books of Scripture. Okay, as part. I know I had an English teacher. He was Irish. He grew up in Ireland. They would not have books available to, very much. He grew up in the 50s and 60s. And so if ever anybody got a book, they would borrow it from each other. They would actually read it till they had pretty much memorized the book. Okay, so people just don't have those skills. Look, I bet some of you could sing every word to 50 songs. Okay? How much is that memorized? Some of you can recite the names, numbers, and stats of every player on your sports team going back years. How much memory does that take? It's simply a matter of desire, interest. Okay? And you can memorize almost anything. Okay. Because removing the sandals has something to do with halacha. Oh. I don't know that there was anything at the time that was halachic as far as taking off shoes. Okay. I know that the Muslims do this. I know they actually wash their hands and feet before they pray. For me, this is the first example, to be sure, representing Abba as is the teaching, do you know the Father and the Son? Burning bush voice, not Abba, but the Son instead. Good point. Does the ground mean holy because of the covenant with Abraham? No, it's holy because Yahweh said it was. In other words, what does holy mean? Ground that is set apart for the purpose of serving Yahweh. Okay, that's what holy is. Wow, that's amazing that you can remember the whole thing. Okay. Hi, my name is Amoeba, and I don't even know how to speak. Dial tone. There you go.
Abba, Father, thank you so much for allowing us to come together tonight to study your word, to study your Torah. Father, there may be things that we don't always understand in here, but Father, we know that you guide us through your word. And we know that given time, you will fill us with the understanding that we need to walk this out. Father, we pray that we can take what we have read here tonight and use it in our daily walk. Father, we love you and praise you, and we thank you for all that you do for us. We want to lift up all the prayers and the praises to you again, and thank you for everything. In the name of your Son, Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Nolan. Thank you, everyone. All right, let me do a quick wave goodbye. Let's see. We do that here. And here we go. You know what I got here? We got the ladies' coin. I should say the ladies' coin. It's just a smaller one. It's on a, whoops, I'm going to drop it here. It's on a bezel. Where's the camera? There it is. So you can see it there. And so you can order those. It's beautiful. Hanging on a chain. Of course, you got the full-size ones here. Let me turn that like that. There we go. I still have mine in its case. Love you guys. Appreciate you. One day I will own one of those ladies' coins, Janice says. There you go. I'm going to stop the recording here. Okay. Somebody said, my grandma had a beard. She could have used one. There you go. All right. Blessings, everyone. Laila Tov. Have a good night. Shavua Tov. Have a good week. All right. For those of you who did not have your Chinese food in a movie yet, go have it. Not that that's halacha or required in any way. Wait, hold on. You know what? You know what we're going to do? Give me 1 second. I know what we're going to do. I'm going to try something different. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try and share something with you guys. Let's see if I can do this. Hold on. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. See if I can do this. Okay. I'm going to try to share with you the Chinese food on Christmas song. Anybody want to hear that? Okay, let's see if I can do this. There we go. See if I can do this. Hopefully it'll work. Come on now. Why is it not letting me do this? This has nothing to do with Safari. Stop messing that up. I don't know why it's not letting me share. This is kind of crazy. David, can you share this? Because mine's not letting me do it. You know the song I'm talking about? Well, you can do it. You can do it from there. See if you can get it to work. It won't work on mine for some reason. I don't know why. Hopefully you have the song. Okay, I'll give you the link. Hold on, here's the link. Give me a second. Let me give you the link. Here's the link for everybody. You get the link. Here it is. All right. Actually, yeah, David, take that link, and then if you could share it, that would be great. It's those tech demons again. This explains why we do the Chinese food Christmas thing. It's not about Christmas. It's just about understanding there's nothing else to do when you're a Jew. Okay? Not that you're all Jews, but it's just funny. It's a good, funny song. What happened, David? You took the share pod away. Okay, I'll give you the pod. See if you can get it to work. All right, never mind. Everybody, you can copy that link and play it yourself. That's just maybe the easiest way to go right now. I have to figure out why it, Safari, I don't know why there's Safari restrictions. Maybe I'd have to open this up in Safari or something. I don't know why that is. All right, don't worry about it. I'm closing this. Okay, so how do I close this? I don't know how to close this. There we go. Okay. Laila Tov, everyone. Shavua Tov. I don't know why it won't let me play it, but there should be a way for you to import it in or something. Audio? No. Hold on, let me see if I can try this with video. Oh, that's a webcam thing. That's not what I wanted. All right, we'll just have to do it this way. All right. Anyway, you'll enjoy the song. I'm going to give you guys the countdown, and then we're going to lock down everything here. 10, 9. When it gets to 0, we stop. So you got a few seconds to say goodbye to everybody. Have a good night and all that kind of good stuff. All right, just letting everybody type in as we're closing down. There's a few more numbers for you. You're welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending and for participating. Really appreciate that. Hope you didn't have too much of a struggle getting through, this time of year where it can be really challenging. Okay, Daweed, after I close the room, you can call me on my cell phone. Okay. And that's going to do it. Listen, blessings and shalom, and we'll see you guys on